Joining us now, State Senator, Democrat, Fairfax, Chap Petersen. Chap, it's been way too long. Great to have you with us.
John, it's great to be on. I apologize. I've been a little bit of a stranger, but I've been on the road.
I know you have. You've been on the road.
Yes, sir.
So you were in Roanoke. Tell us what's going on. You've had a couple of very high-profile press conferences. Just inform our audience what you're doing, why you're doing it.
Let me start from sort of the beginning. As your audience undoubtedly knows, there are two pipelines that have been approved by FERC to cross through southwest Virginia or western Virginia. One is the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, which is owned by Dominion, which comes through the Shenandoah Valley in Nelson County and has gotten a lot of attention. And then there's the Mountain Valley Pipeline, or the MVP, which comes down through West Virginia and then crosses into Virginia in Giles County, comes through Roanoke County and Franklin. And that's the one that has caused what's been called the tree sitters, people that have taken trees either on their own land or in national parks in order to protest the construction. And that's how I got involved, as you know, and as your audience knows, by trade, I'm an attorney, and I protect people's property rights. So I had been interested in it from a professional point of view, and then got more interested in it from really a First Amendment point of view, because the Forest Service, in order to keep people from protesting, had basically shut down the entrance to the National Forest in Giles County, and I didn't think that was right.
I mean, it doesn't seem to be right to me, but I guess what they didn't want is people going in trees and protesting. So, look, it's their property. We get that, but there's also eminent domain. And if the government thinks, look, we need this property for whatever reason, you know, the laws on that are pretty clear. So what is your involvement there?
Well, the specific case I have in Roanoke has to do with First Amendment on federal property. In other words, in the national forest. So there's no eminent domain there. The federal government owns the land, and if, you know, the federal agency says, okay, we're willing to either sell or give an easement across the land, that, you know, they probably have the right to do that, and there's not much we can do. My suit has to do with the First Amendment, which is people were there protesting. They were up, basically supporting the woman called Nutty, who's up basically over the road as it goes through the forest. And the Forest Service cut off access to the road, so people could no longer walk up the road or drive up the road to see what was going on. As a result, they had to hike through the woods, and it's a very steep terrain. You have to cross a couple creeks. I've run a bunch of marathons and stuff in my life, and I got to admit, I was worn out trying to hike up to it. So, and effectively, it prevented people from going up there to protest. There is a protest camp up there, but you know, whether you like it or not, or whether you're pro-pipeline or anti-pipeline, the bottom line is it's publicly owned property. It's a public venue. If people want to go and protest, they have a right to do that. So that was the gist of my lawsuit. We had a argument yesterday before Judge Dillon down in Roanoke, and she listened carefully, asked a lot of questions. The Forest Service position is, well, this is all about safety, and we don't want people getting in the way of the construction vehicles, or we don't want them assisting criminal acts. My position was, look, my clients are not criminals. They're not assisting criminal acts. They simply just want to go there, express their opinions, see what's going on. Not to mention there's a whole host of environmental issues wrapped up in it. But it is pretty much a straight-up First Amendment issue about whether or not freedom of speech outweighs the government's interest in police power. And so that's what we argued.
So they basically cut access off to federal land, the national forest, and they didn't want people to go there. And you had that one lady, Nutty, living in the treehouse right there, which was part of her protest. So, look, Chap, you've been at a lot of these hearings. You win almost all of them. I mean, your track record is pretty amazing. Based on what the judge said, what do you think that ruling will be?
You know, Judge, first of all, thank you for the compliment, which I'm not sure I deserve. But, I'm not going to predict. One of the things we talked about, and one of the things I talked about with the judge, was this idea of less restrictive alternative, or basically saying to people, look, we realize you have a First Amendment right. Let's see if we can meet in the middle. For example, having the road open for certain hours, or having, a walking path next to the road, or something like that. In other words, giving some type of less restrictive alternative than simply just closing the road outright and forcing people to walk through the woods, which is not safe. I mean, people could fall. There's no way to get to them. There's no way to get an emergency vehicle to them. So that's what I hope the judge will do. Again, I can't. There's a law of First Amendment case law that could go up to the ceiling of my office, and the judge knows that her clerks are going to know that pretty well. And I'm just a simple guy from Fairfax City, just down there trying to speak for the people. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, it seems like your argument is pretty clear. It seems like this is an overreach of power to me by the Forest Service in cutting off access. And I don't even know why they would do that. I mean, to me, somebody wants to protest, you have First Amendment, you let that go. I really think these government agencies and others get in trouble when you try to squash this kind of stuff. Because, look,
just to that point, John, I appreciate it. Is that one of the things we pointed out was they had established like an alternative campground where people could go and have a protest, and it was 31 miles away.
Yeah, so that was just bogus.
You might as well put it in Roanoke. I mean, you could put it in anywhere. And you need to, again, I think you hit the nail on the head. As long as people are acting peacefully and lawfully, if they want to go up there and hold a sign and protest and sing a song, and it's their right. I mean, that's what it means to be an American.
It's like they have the power, so they exercise it, I use basketball because I've coached it for so long, and I remember as a young coach, I was complaining about a referee, and I had a much older mentor, and I'm like, why are they calling this fouls? And I'll never forget, he said to me, you give somebody authority and a whistle, they're going to blow it. I mean, that's basically, it was the best line ever, right? So, yep. That's basically the thing. We're with State Senator from Fairfax City, Democrat Chap Petersen. He's also a defender of liberty. He's fighting for people's right here in Roanoke in the Forest on First Amendment. And I appreciate what you're doing there. Let's get to Medicaid expansion. Had Dick Zaslow on The Godfather yesterday. He says he's going to go nuclear. He's going to discharge the budget out of the Senate Finance Committee and bring it to the floor. What do you think?
Well, I'm all in. I mean, one of my frustrations with the Senate has been this idea that somehow the Finance Committee is the gatekeeper on all legislation, and that includes the budget, that somehow if they decide that the state should not have a budget, those 16 people can make that decision, and the rest of us don't have a choice. And so if Dick makes that motion, I'm 100% there.
What do you think, though? How do you think it'll play out?
I think at the end of the day, and again, this is my tuition, and John, I've been listening to commercials on your radio show of people for and against it. I'm kind of like, look, we've all been in this situation. We know where everybody stands. Put the budget on the floor, and let's have an up or down vote. You don't like the budget or the House budget, vote against it. You don't like, you're for it, vote for it. But the idea that you can just bottle it up in committee and not give people a vote, and that's how somehow represents democracy, sorry. I've been on both sides of this, and I've always been of the opinion, at the end of the day, let people vote. And you know what? If you're on the losing end, fine. That happens, and you move forward.
I don't see any scenario where this budget or some budget with Medicaid expansion doesn't pass. You've now got 3 Republicans that are going to vote for some form of it. Frank Wagner, everyone knows that, Virginia Beach. Emmett Hanger, that's no secret. Now Jill Vogel, yesterday Senator Vogel from the Valley saying, look, we got to end this thing. We're going to go with Medicaid expansion. She's come under fire. You got 3 Republican votes and 19 Democrats. There's no way this is not going to pass, right? I mean, the math just doesn't work. You can't stop it.
Yeah. Yes. It's already passed the House, so we know what the verdict is there. And in the Senate, we know we've got at least 2, probably 3, probably more.
I think you'll get more. I think you're going to get more because, again, look, I switched my position on it because it no longer makes any sense to oppose it. I've been over it 100 times, and I commend Joe Vogel yesterday for seeing this for what it is. This is for working people. This is not welfare. This is 300,000 or 400,000 working Virginians. They work 2 jobs. They're falling in the cracks. And look, it's good enough for Matt Blevins in Kentucky. He's like the Tea Party conservative icon of all time. He signed it. It's good enough for him. It's good enough for Vice President Mike Pence. Good enough for me. Let's get to the Capitals. You're home tonight, right? Big game. You're up 2-1. This is the game. You win this game at home. You're in the driver's seat. A lot of people that follow the Caps, I'm not a fan or not fan, I'm just an observer, but a lot of my friends up here in D.C., I mean, they love their Capitals. And they're really nervous about tonight's game because they're telling me this is the type of game at home that we always blow. Right. What do you think?
Yeah, let's face it, this team has not done a lot in its history to inspire confidence, but they did get by the Penguins. That was enormous. I put it on on the cusp of being on one of my top 10 DC sports moments of all time when they beat Kuznetsov scored to beat the Pens. Who knows? I mean, they look so good in the first two games, but they just seem like they cannot win at home. I was at Game 5 against Pittsburgh when they won, so that was one of the few times. I do feel like if they go up 3-1, they close out. In fact, I think they go back to Tampa and close out. You know, if hockey's such a momentum sport, you feel like teams tend to win or lose in streaks. So I just feel like if Tampa wins and goes 2-2, then we're in big trouble. But hopefully the boys will, get that third win. Hopefully Tom Wilson will lay some people out. Ovi will snap a couple in the back of the net, and we'll be winners.
Well, that's it. What you just said, Chap Petersen, seems to be the consensus of the Cap fans up here that I talk to. They're very nervous about tonight's game. And I would think, look, you're up 2-1, you're in the driver's seat, you're at home, you should be fired up. No, they're very nervous about it. Yeah. Based on his look, it's kind of like I was as an Astro fan during the World Series. Everything has always gone wrong for us. Right. You just expect, somehow you're going to blow games in the eighth inning again. So, all right, let's get to the Redskins. Were you happy or not with the draft? Why or why not?
Happy with the draft. I'm going to give it probably an A-. I really wanted that big kid out of Washington, Vita VA at nose tackle. He went the pick before us. Mm-hmm. But Deron Payne, 310 pounds, runs a 4.9 40. I mean, you don't find people like that very often. Loved getting Geis in the second round. He's a stud. I think he was the second running back in the draft next to Barkley. The other kids, I can't say I'm as familiar with them, but it seems like they're all people that could step in and potentially contribute. The kid from Virginia Tech, Settle, he's a mountain. And I could see him being plugged in on short yardage and goal line, as well as playing at the nose tackle. So, I'm excited. I feel like they added some depth. I still think they need another big play receiver. I'm the only guy in town, but I think they should sign Dez or at least make an effort. I know everyone says I'm crazy. If he goes out and catches 60, 70 balls for somebody else, you're going to remember this. Anyways, as always, who knows? This team's been hovering around 500 for the last 3, 4, 5 years, and I feel like at some point they're either going to break north or break south, and I'm not sure which way.
Well, look, the Titans were in the same position here for about 5 years, 8-8, 9-7, 7-9, and it's really no man's land, Chap, in the NFL when you're 8-8, 7-9, or 9-7,
right?
Because you don't make the playoffs, but you get crap. You don't get great.
Right, you're not getting the A-list picks.
You're just in no man's land.
Change type players in the offseason.
Exactly. I mean, you're better off going as Indianapolis showed everybody, going 2-12 or 1-15. And the Titans had that one disastrous season, and that's how they got Mariota. I mean, so had we won another 3 games, we don't even have him, or 2 games, or 1 game, we don't have him. Yeah. So it's very frustrating in football. But look, I didn't like Alex Smith move at first. I didn't like it. I'm like, well, Alex Smith. But, you look at this guy's record. Okay, he didn't win the playoff game. The Titans beat him at home in Kansas City. He's got a record of not winning the big games. But you look at his record during the season. I mean, it's. I was looking at it the other day. Somebody pointed out it's pretty impressive. I mean, this guy wins football games. And he's won them with not great teams. And he manages a game great. And, with that ground game you guys have got, maybe he's the guy.
Well, we played Kansas City last year, and both of us, we were healthy and they were healthy. And at the time, we looked like 2 of the better teams in the NFL. It was a Monday night game. They came back and beat us in the last minute. And you might remember Smith had a couple pretty critical scrambles, put together a 2-minute drive.
Yep.
I mean, he won that game. He put that team on his back. And, look, I love Kirk Cousins. I wish him the best. I have no ill will at all. I think Kirk Cousins is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. But Smith is a winner. Again, he just hasn't happened in the playoffs. But, you could say that for a lot of people. But he's had a winning record. And I also think that Gruden's, the way Gruden plays, it's very quarterback-centric, a lot of short passing. He also likes a mobile quarterback. Mm-hmm. He likes to run the quarterback out of the pocket. Mm-hmm. And Smith has kind of the mentality to handle that. Mm-hmm. So,
look,
God, I hope we win. I can't take another losing season, John. I really cannot.
I know. I've a lot of Redskins fans have told me that. Scott Serville said he didn't renew his season tickets. He's tired of the losing. So you guys need a good season. I wish you well, but I tell you what, it's coming up, right? I mean, it's already May. Camp opens, a couple of months, month or so, right?
Yep,
June.
Camp is in, I think, starts late July.
Yeah, starts late July. So summer's coming, and then we go. We're out of time. I want to thank Chap Petersen for being with us. Always great to have him on. Hey, by the way, if you have an eminent domain issue, the government's trying to take your land, you got one phone call to make. Chap Petersen.
Give me a call, guys.
He's a beast. Chap, what's your number?
Well, you got the 757 number. You can call me up here at 571-459-2512, 571-459-2512, or Google Attorney Chap Petersen.